Hello, everybody, and welcome to Red Wings Daily, presented to you by FanArch. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, author of The Voices of Hockey. Broadcasters reflect on the fastest game on earth, which I will say is available in audio format on both Audible and Apple Books. So check it out. I'm coming to you from the southwest corner of Washington State. I'm 2,454 miles from Little Caesars Arena. Now, the Red Wings were not in action at LCA last night, but you would have thought they were the way they played. Basically going into Denver, beating the Avalanche 2-0 on their own ice after getting beat 5-0 on the Red Wings ice on Saturday. If you guys remember the show yesterday, if you were tuning in, you'd see that I was a little despondent, quite down on the defense following Saturday's game. I will say I liked what I saw yesterday. We kept it in their zone a lot more than they kept it in ours. There was a lot better passes, a lot better control of the puck, a lot less turnovers. Those are the things that a team like Colorado, as good as they are and offensively minded as they are, can really take advantage of. And you have a little bit of an errant pass, especially if you're outstretched stick and you're obviously in bad position. They can scoop that right on up and go skate right around you. And that's what happened a couple times, led to McKinnon's goals and things like that, and really put the game out of reach for us. Well, you think about after the game right now that the Red Wings, had last night against the Avalanche, and you compare it to the Saturday game, you got to say, what did McClellan say to them? And after last night's game, I was going through my Red Wings app and just looking at the pregame press conference because I really was curious to see what he had to say about it. And McClellan basically said, we're looking for a response, jump, energy, better execution, and looking for it early in the game. Well, 30 seconds in, Marco Kasper gets a goal. So how prophetic is that McClellan says that? He also says puck placement better be down good. And it was. Like I said, didn't lead to, not too many turnovers deep in the zone, giving them those shots and those opportunities. Gibby with his fourth shutout of the season. He's won, his four shutouts have been all on the road. First it was Vancouver, then it was Chicago, then it was Montreal, now it's Colorado. It's like he's getting shutouts later in the season against better and better teams. So he's been quite the difference maker for us. Snapped his 3-game losing streak. Feel good for that, and got himself back on his winning ways on there. Looking at a couple of things that happened, we were 0 for 2 on the power play, but we were 2 for 2 on the penalty kill. And the two divots didn't really have to be replaced, I guess. The two guys went into the box were Aljo and Appy. They didn't score, obviously, against us during those two stints in the penalty box, so no divots to have to replace for those two. So not too bad of screw-ups, foul-ups, or however you want to say it. The discipline kept us out of the box, and they were out of the box too, honestly. There was only 2 power plays for them, or for the Red Wings against the Avalanche. There was a 10-minute misconduct from Nishkushkin when Raymond, I know I butchered that name, but when Raymond scored the empty netter, that basically turned into a test to see how well a stick would hold up against iron. And guess what? The stick lost. But yeah, that was a 10-minute misconduct. Basically kicked him out. I think he might have gotten in a fight. Obviously, you don't get a game misconduct for breaking your stick on the goal. I mean, we'd all be racking up those kind of minutes. They were disciplined, we were disciplined, and nobody scored on the power play, so stats went up and down. But really the most important thing walking away, when was the last time you saw a game where there was only two goals scored, and they were 59 minutes apart from each other, and it's a regulation game, by the way? When was the last time you saw something like that? And that's exactly what happened. 30 seconds in, Marco's got the goal. 30 seconds out, Raymond's got the empty netter. And in between there, all kinds of just super competition, and us doing the right things, making the right moves, and avoiding a lot of the mistakes that buried us on Saturday. So great win, first win in 5 games against the Avalanche, and probably the first win on the road. I know that they didn't win on the road. Their last win was at LCA in 24. So it's been almost a decade since the last win before that. And who knows if that even was against or in Colorado or not. So it's been a while since we've actually beaten them in Denver. And it's a good feeling to walk away with 2 points on that, especially after only getting 1 point out of 6 possible points on that 3-game homestand. Now we still got to play Utah. Hopefully we can get another 2 out of that. We'll talk about that game tomorrow. I'll have a little bit of preview of it, but walking away from Denver, flying out of there on the heels of a 2-0 win, definitely has got to feel good for a team that was really looking for some kind of answer, and it seemed like everybody stepped up, kept it in their zone a lot more than our own, and we basically kept their side of the blue line, I guess, a busier place than ours. So it's Tuesday, and with it being Tuesday, it's time for Tantrum Tuesday. And I wanted to bring this game up yesterday, but I felt like it was better, reserved for Tantrum Tuesday. But we had yet another goaltender fight. This was Sunday in the Stadium Series game at Raymond James Stadium and in Tampa Bay. And I think they just overdid a little bit with the pirate theme. I mean, honestly, you had Messier and PK and Steve Levy all like looking like they were on the set of Pirates of the Caribbean, or like the bad guys, I guess, the British. And they just kind of overdid everything. But hey, to each their own. And score 11 seconds into the game, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be a nightmare of a game for Boston. But then Boston scores 5 straight. Amidst the 4-goal comeback that the Lightning had before eventually forcing overtime, basically, and winning it in the shootout, I think by the time it was 5-2 was when the fight happened. And there was basically, I think it was a shot by Kucherov, and Hagel was trying to get the put back against Swayman. I think he stuck around there a little too long and basically upset Swayman to the point that he started just going after him and even fell on him, landing punches. So obviously anybody who knows the unspoken rules of hockey, when you are 190 feet away from everything as the goaltender and you see their goaltender going after your guy, you basically have no choice but to, go and skate the length of the ice and do it. Obviously the intensity of everything was between Swayman and Hagel there. His ire was much more aimed at Hagel than it could have been at Vasilevsky. But seeing him come up the ice, it's like, okay, here we go. He's got a stick stuck in his pads, basically throws off his helmet, says, throw off your helmet to Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky's like, okay, take the stick out of your pad so I know you're going to use against me. And they had a nice little, wonderful little fight. The intensity that he had against Hagel was definitely not anywhere near or there was no kind of that intensity with Vasilevsky. And it was just kind of like, hey, we're fighting for fight's sake. So obviously it was a great scrum. It was just fun. It was good theater. It was a great game to sit there and watch. All the highs and lows and the emotion and the roller coaster of excitement that it was, set against the backdrop of just overdoing it and just way too much staying in character for my likings. But, it's outdoors. It only happens once a year for a team. Obviously, they don't get the call like every year to be able to do something like that. So the gridiron was used for something other than football in that stadium, and it was good theater. So definitely worthy of a Tantrum Tuesday segment. Now, with the Lightning being the only team that was out of action, there was quite a lot of Atlantic Division goings on yesterday. Red Wings still 2 games back, or 2 points back of the Lightning, despite their win, and now once again having played with the Lightning being idle, the Red Wings now, the Lightning have 4 games in hand against the Red Wings. So Wings are 2 points back of them, but they're 2 points up of Montreal. Montreal could have leapfrogged the Red Wings had the Red Wings lost in regulation, even with an overtime loss yesterday against Minnesota. So with all the factors being present, they're 2 points back of the Red Wings. So the Wings gained a point on them by getting the 2 and them getting the 1. Sitting in the last place in the Atlantic right now is the Florida Panthers. And so that is just something that I will still scratch my head at. And the deeper we get into the season, the more, or the less I start to say they're due. Don't wake them up. Don't fall asleep on the Panthers. But it's getting to be the point where you're like, you guys are 15 points out of first place right now. Now that discrepancy is more than it was a few weeks ago. There was a 10-point discrepancy between first and eighth. Now there's 15. So obviously the two Floridian teams on the opposite sides of the spectrum as far as the Atlantic standings go, they're starting to see a little bit more distance between them. And Tampa Bay has been a surprisingly amazing team this year. They start off really bad and have been great ever since. And I think they're still the hottest team in the league right now, especially over the last 15, 20 games. Probably have only lost one regulation game in that span. They're just turning it on. So right now the bottlenecks seem to be, 6 and 7 are tied points wise. That's the Senators and the Maple Leafs. So, the Leafs aren't sitting in last anymore, neither the Senators. They both had their share of the cellar time for the Atlantic. But yeah, the bottleneck kind of still is between spots 3 through 5. They're 2 points, 2 points separate 3 through 5, and 4 points separate 1 through 3. So I mean, that's not necessarily a bottleneck, but it's still pretty close for that's basically 2 games separating 3 teams. So we'll just have to see if the Red Wings can gain 2 more points and solidify their standings, in the Atlantic and be at number 2. I like for them to stay at number 2, if not number 1, obviously, as the season continues on, because the more they stay in that position, the more likely they are to be able to have, home ice advantage in that opening round of the playoffs. We're still really counting on them to make the playoffs this year, not have a monumental collapse that takes them out of it. But more than anything, I would like for them to have, home ice advantage for the first round. So we'll just have to see. But it's still a tight division. It's still up for grabs, and Tampa Bay is looking better and better, but these teams are all still kind of hanging with them. Buffalo ain't no slouch. They're doing great. They've been doing a lot better, but the fact that Montreal is still up and a little bit ahead of Buffalo shows that they're just maybe 1 or 2 games better than them over the last 10. But we remember a time when Buffalo was basically putting up numbers the way that the Lightning are right now as far as their last 10, 12, or 14. So that division is still up for grabs, and luckily the Red Wings are the closest to the top there, being only 2 points behind, and those games in hand will start to really stack up, and that's why we got to get wins like we did last night against Colorado, especially after having losses against teams like Los Angeles at home and those other games, and Utah earlier in the season and Nashville earlier in the season. Seems like that Central Division has been like plaguing us at home, and hopefully we can come out of it with let's see, we beat Dallas. We got to win against Minnesota when they come into town to just kind of get that kind of monkey off of our back. Well, I did kind of hold off on talking about Lucas because I wanted to save it for the spotlight. But, obviously Marco got the scoring started 30 seconds into the game, but Lucas was on the assist on that one, and he was on... he scored the second goal of the game, and basically, I don't know if that proves to be the game winner. It's weird because to me, if your team is shutting him out, and even if you score 30 seconds in, a lot of times they don't say that's the game winner because it just is too early to factor in. I don't think that should be the case. Who's to say a leadoff home run in baseball isn't the game winner when your pitcher throws a 1-0 shutout? Who's to say? But Raymond had 2 points. He's got 60 on the season, so he leads the team. He extended his lead over DeBrincat, another 2 points, so it's 60-57 right there. 19 goals, though. He's almost at the 20-goal mark. I'm hoping he can get 30, and obviously at the 41 assist mark. So he is definitely being a strong leader. He's only a few years into his career. I don't know if I really want to call him a veteran yet. He definitely has veteran riz about him. Sorry to use that term, but I really do feel like he's got veteran showings, and he's definitely got the chevrons on his sleeves as far as I can tell. And it'll be good to kind of probably keep the team and put the team in his hands once Larkin decides to hang it up. Obviously Kane's going to be closer to his retirement than Larkin is, and you want to look to that leadership, and Lucas Raymond, even 5 seasons into his career, he has just been dynamic and just been out of sight. So he's definitely deserving of being in the spotlight. Basically 3rd time around for him on this one. And even, he was the first one we spotlighted in the very first show, and I'll continue to spotlight him as long as he continues to do what he does. And it's always great to have somebody like that. I'm gonna be cheering on him, representing his country. Obviously, I'll be cheering more on Larks because I'll be pulling for the USA to do what they can, but I'll still keep a mind out for Raymond and Sider as they represent their respective teams in the Olympics. Speaking of that, I'm going to continue to do the show, so please subscribe if you haven't already, because if you're going to want to be in the know on the Olympics as far as the teams and the countries and what they're doing, I'm going to have a leaderboard points-wise. I'm also going to show how the teams are faring, basically have a little bit of discussion each show, even while the NHL is kind of on its 2.5-week hiatus. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. It'll be a lot easier to tune into my show in the mornings during the week than to sit there and wait for the pundits of Peacock and NBC to finally get around to giving you the highlights of the day. I mean, Olympics go all day long, folks. You can be waiting quite a long time if you're not already online just to check in the scores and see who things are doing. So please subscribe, tune in. I'll provide you with the info. We still got one more game to go for us. We got 2 more days of NHL hockey before this hiatus happens. In the meantime, this has been Red Wings Daily. I'm your host, Kirk MckNight, LGRW from the PNW.